Okay, but you've spent another $21 billion on defence today. So what are you going to cut? That is the question of this campaign for the coalition.
So on the issue of the $21 billion for defence, let's face it, the most important responsibility of any government is to keep its citizens safe. This is something that Labor has failed to do. They ripped $80 billion out of the defence budget, the long-term defence budget. And at the same time, we've seen warships off the coast, firing near civilian aircraft.
But as Phil Burry points out, some of the spending and waste in defence, buying equipment that you don't need or are redundant, are legendary in the defence. So what kind of checks and balances are you going to have?
So part of this $21 billion is going to be setting up a process by which defence capability expenditure is made. Now, there'll be more announcements, more details about that today from Peter Dutton and from Andrew Hastie, so I don't want to preempt that too much. But you have already seen that we've made announcements around joint strike fighters, restoring that. Because let's face it, if we don't get our men and women in uniform equipped with the capability that they need, well, then we're failing in our first duty. Our second duty, though, is to keep the economy strong, keep Australians safe and keep the economy strong, which is why that objective to get back to structural balance is so important. Cutting out the wasteful spending of government, and there's been plenty of it, and in case you want to see some of it, it's on a website, www.underlabor.com. There's so much.
But you've also matched Labor on some of these big ticket items. So where are you going to cut? Can you give us broad, departments, broad areas? Don't give me the details today, even though we'd like you to, Jane, but where? So
you will see all of our costings next week. I can promise you that before the election, it will be made very, very clear. What I can say, though, is there is a concerted effort to go line by line through the budget as much as we can to see where that wasteful spending is occurring, make sure that we redirect that into productivity-enhancing expenditure so that we can grow the economy as well as reduce expenditure. That's how you get the budget back into a structural balance.
Well, at the moment, you don't have that buffer, and the world is changing rapidly.
We agree.
And you've matched Labor on spending, and you also support this big government spending on the whole.
We want to make sure that we deliver the cost of living relief when it's needed the most, which is right now. Yeah. But the most important thing is that...
Don't you need to stop being populist? Because the opposite of being populist is actually
making the tough
people
decisions.
That it's going to hurt for a little while, but we're doing this for, better days down the track. Is that a message that you're willing to deliver?
We want to make sure that we deliver cost of living relief right now, that in a year's time, Australians can get some of their own tax back, up to $1,200 for about 85% of taxpayers. That's their own money that they get delivered back. In the meantime, however, we want to make sure that we bring energy prices down by delivering more gas supply into the system. We want to restore our economic balance and our budget processes. Bring the guardrails back around the budget, whether it be a tax to GDP ratio, whether it be making sure that our spending doesn't outstrip the growth of the economy, or making sure that any windfall gains, windfall revenue gains that come through higher commodity prices don't get squandered on recurrent expenditure or on political whims of the day. We want to make sure that that is sequestered to a future generations fund so that every generation of Australians can benefit from the economic prosperity that comes from our resources sector.
Okay, well, let's talk polling. I know no one likes talking polling at this stage of a campaign, but you all do your own track polling, so it is a necessary part of any campaign for any political party. We have news poll today showing that Peter Dutton has a big problem with women, or the coalition more broadly, with women voters. You've been out on pre-poll. I was in Malvern yesterday. This is not scientific at this point, but do you agree with Peter Dutton that it's not as bad out there as some of these polls would suggest?
I was actually in Bass and Braddon yesterday down in Tasmania, and it certainly wasn't feeling bad on the ground out there. In fact, I think that our candidates in our candidate in Braddon and our member, Bridget Archer in Bass, will be well supported. You've just seen Giselle Kapterian, one of the most extraordinary candidates in Bradfield, just on your screens a moment ago, and we have just so many women running in this election campaign that I'll be proud to work with. People like Ro Knox in Wentworth, or Jamie Rogers in Warringah, Katie Allen in Chisholm, and Amelia Hamer in Kooyong. There are just Nicole Flint in Boothby, Maggie Forrest in Ryan. These women have the most extraordinary professional backgrounds. They'll make such incredible contributions to our party room. I can't wait to work alongside them.
Yeah, Giselle and Nicolette are kind of a case in point. On paper, and a couple of years ago, Nicolette would have been a Liberal. Does that say anything about the modernisation of the Liberal Party?
I think that that is a convenient excuse of the Teals, that they were disaffected Liberals, but they're not. They're simply Greens in good shoes.
Really?
They're not, absolutely. I mean,
Why do
you
you
couldn't
say that?
possibly say
Because
that
they talk
Monique
about
Ryan was a
climate
Liberal,
change.
that Zoe Daniels was a Liberal. You know, this is
Nicolette,
absolute
I would
nonsense.
say Allegra is very different to that, though.
I don't think Nicolette's particularly different either. And the idea that she has, you know, set herself up as the shadow member for Bradfield for the last 3 years, that she has spent millions of dollars campaigning ahead of this election. Yet I'm pretty sure that Nicolette's going to have a very bad day on next Saturday week because Giselle Kapterian is an incredibly strong candidate.
You sound a little bit worried
with
about
her
that seat.
Well, look, can I tell you that the campaign that the Teals are running has been very, very well funded and a little bit desperate. But the
What do you
gloss
mean by
has
that?
worn off.
What are you seeing that we're not?
Well, it's certainly the gloss is worn off because let's face it, they went into the last election with 3 abstract nouns as their campaign slogans: gender, integrity and climate. Well, if you're serious about supporting climate, well, why would you not support a nuclear energy future with 0 emissions?
Okay.
If you're serious about integrity, well, you can't fault Peter Dutton for his integrity. And if you're serious about gender, why would you not support women like Giselle Kapterian or Ro Knox or Amelia Hamer being in the room where decisions are made? These incredible professional women being in decisions where in the room where decisions are made, because Teals essentially have dealt themselves out of that opportunity by simply choosing to be independent rather than backing a political party.
Okay, Jane, thanks so much. Good luck. We'll see you soon.
Thanks,
I'll
Laura.
see you at the debate a little later on.